Okay, so we saw this video the other night while we were laying in bed, and I wanted to give it a test. So we've got some Big & J apple granular deer attractant versus some Buck Bourbon 110 proof. And these two seem to be like the big popular ones on that particular video. So we're gonna give it a test because I got these as a rockin' price, so why not, right? So let's see what happens. We're literally gonna put them side by side. We'll have a trail camera on it, and we'll just see which one the deer prefer. Smells like apple.
Are you gonna taste it?
I'm definitely not gonna taste it. But
Tractor Supply made that full dump possible.
that's right. I mean, that right there is like at least $1.50. So that's the Big & J. Now I'll say this right off the bat, just having to carry them short distance, not a big deal. Long distance, this Buck Bourbon like pack-in bag was pretty freaking awesome. Let's see, this is easy to open. Kind of, sort of. I opened it like a gorilla. Well, that's an interesting smell. I'm a bourbon fan, so I was kind of already hoping this one does well. It's not as sweet, but okay.
I can smell it.
The scents are there, and that smells really, really good, actually. Like Buck Bourbon. If you turned this into a candle, we would totally buy it. So, Buck Bourbon, Big & J apple granular. Get the trail camera set up, and we'll see what the results say. So the very first customer is, of course, a raccoon. Why wouldn't it be? Because that's exactly what this test was meant for, was to see if it attracts raccoons or possums here. However, they did kind of seem to go towards the apple. Now, once the deer did end up showing up, they kind of seemed a little wary at first about, you know, why is this stuff just in the middle of nowhere? It wasn't here before. But early on, it does seem that Big & J jumps off to a very big lead, being the preferred deer attractant. But then this weird shift happened where all of a sudden the deer transitioned from the apple over to the Buck Bourbon, and I can't put a finger on why that transition happened, whether or not it was a daytime nighttime thing or what. But I mean, the one thing that I can say after watching all of this footage is that they liked both. They really did go for both, but some came and went to the apple. Here, this buck goes from the apple and then to the Buck Bourbon. So they both worked really well. Early on, it seemed that the Big & J had the advantage, but eventually, I think that they both kind of ended up about even. Okay, so here's my takeaway from the Big & J versus Buck Bourbon experience. And it's simply this. I think the Big & J was definitely the more popular of the two when placed side by side. However, if you had to go with one or the other, and say you didn't have access to the Big & J apple granular, but you did have access to the Buck Bourbon, it still attracted deer. So when you put them side by side, yes, the deer and the raccoons and stuff, for whatever reason, some days preferred to go to the apple granular, which is, I think maybe just because it was a little bit sweeter. I mean, we're naturally attracted to sweeter tasting things. You know, you walk into a donut shop, the smell alone gets you hungry, gets your mouth watering, all that kind of stuff. And I gotta assume animals is probably the same way. When they smell something that is sweet and they know there's an easy source of food and sugar, then they're going to be attracted to it. Versus the Buck Bourbon, which kind of had more of a, I don't want to compare it sweet to savory, but it wasn't as sweet of as an aroma. But either way, what they did do is that they both attract deer. So can you go wrong either or? I really don't think you can. It seems that if you would like to maybe attract them you know, because maybe the other thing that I was thinking is that maybe the Buck Bourbon smell is so different that maybe it causes a little bit of a hesitation to begin with. But once the deer start to interact with it, taste it, you know, all that kind of stuff, and realize, oh, okay, this is perfectly fine, then I bet you would not run into issues then anymore of deer coming to it. So my take on it is, yes, the Big & J Apple Granular Deer Attractant seems to be the more popular, but I don't think you could go wrong with either or Deer Attractant. So with that being said, I hope you guys found this video enjoyable, fun, entertaining, whatever. I'm John McClain with FPS Outdoors. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell button for me, and I'll catch you on the next episode of FPS Outdoors, you know, things or something.